Hello everyone, welcome back to Cello from the Beginning. Well, this is a big day because today we're going to start talking about the bow and then using the bow. So for this lesson, we're just going to go over the parts of the bow, what we call each part of the bow, and then a little bit of care and maintenance and basic use before we get started with our bow grip and actually putting the bow on the cello. So this part of the bow right here is called the frog. This part of the bow is called the tip. This is important because we will often say something like, play this part, play this at the frog, or play this at the tip, or it may even be marked in the music as FR for frog, or T for tip, or M for middle of the bow. Obviously, this is the bow stick itself and the bow hair. Now, what we have down here is the only part of the bow that we really have to adjust, and that is this screw right here. Let me actually take that out so you can see it. So you can see a threaded screw inside here. Is what it screws into. And this is how we tighten and loosen the bow. So obviously, for example, right now, my bow is very loose. And that's actually how we want to keep the bow when we're not playing. So whenever you're done practicing, always loosen your bow before you put it away. Otherwise, the hair will slowly stretch out over time, and then it'll become very difficult to tighten. And then you have to have a bow rehair, which we have to do sometimes anyway, just because the hair ages and breaks, but you'll get a lot more life out of it if you loosen that bow when you're putting it away. So you can see right now, this hair is very loose, and it does not, I would not be able to play. I would be basically playing on the stick. So in order to tighten this up, come over here, take this screw, and I turn it clockwise. So if I'm holding the bow, I'm turning, in this position, I'm turning it away from me. See if you can see, loosen it up again, see if you can see that hair tightening up. So I'm going to keep tightening, and that's pretty good. Exactly how tight you make this is to some degree personal choice. Also, it will depend on the flexibility of your bow stick. Some bows that are very flexible may need the hair a little tighter. If it's a very stiff stick, you may not have to tighten it up very much at all. So basically, I just need it to be tight enough so that when I'm playing, this stick is not flattening out against the strings. Now, if the bow straightens all the way out, I'm not going to do it here, but if the bow straightens all the way out, or even worse, begins to curve the other way, that is way too tight. So you can see there's a curve to this bow when I loosen it. Curve to the wood. Kind of a U shape, and as I tighten it, it begins to pull out into a straighter position. But we don't want it to go so far that it's actually pulled all the curve out of the bow. So we tighten the bow, and then we're ready to play, almost ready to play. If you have a brand new bow, then you might try to play and nothing will happen. There will be no sound, because we need one other thing to add to this bow to get it to make sound when we play, and that is rosin. So rosin usually comes in a cake. It may come in a round cake. It may come in a square box. We take this rosin and we apply it to the bow hair, just like this. Now, if it's brand new bow hair, if you just got it rehaired, or it's a brand new instrument, you may have to do quite a bit of this, quite a few strokes before you get some rosin built up on there. And so what the rosin is going to do is it's going to make the bow hair sticky rather than slick, so that when I put it on the string and I pull, it grabs that string and vibrates the string. Otherwise, it won't vibrate. It'll just glide back and forth. As far as rosin goes, really, there's lots of different kinds of rosin. Most of them are just fine. This is the one that I personally like. This is the Perastro Cellisto rosin. It's to my tastes. It's not super sticky. It's not, but what the good thing about it is it's fairly soft. So a lot of instruments, when you get them, especially inexpensive instruments that ship with rosin, will ship with a rosin cake that is super hard. And why is that important? Well, you try to put it on the bow and it won't go on the bow. In fact, I've had student rosin where I ran the bow back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and there was absolutely nothing taken off the cake of rosin because it was too hard. So it has to be soft enough so that that dust will come off of the cake of rosin and go onto the bow hair. And so I like this one because it's not super hard. Right away out of the box, without having to scuff it or anything, you can get rosin on the bow. So we rosin our bow up, tighten our bow up, rosin our bow up, and then we're ready to play. So let's remind ourselves also, when we're done, before you put that bow away, I'm going to come here to the screw, and I'm going to turn it towards me, and that will loosen the bow. One other thing here, be careful, avoid touching the bow hair with your fingers. So we have oil on our hands. That oil will go right on that bow hair, and once it gets oily, it will attract dirt, but it won't hold rosin, and then you'll get areas, let me see if you can see, this is an area where, just because of my bow grip, my fingers come over and touch this, so it gets a little oil and dirt built up on there. That's okay because I'm not going to really play right here very much, and I can clean that off a little bit. But if you're grabbing the bow out here, you're going to get that oil building up here, and then it's not going to take rosin, and then when you play, it's going to have places where it's grabbing and then it's not grabbing. It's grabbing, it's not grabbing, and that's bad. So we always are careful not to touch this bow hair. All right, that's the parts of the bow. Coming up next, we will have the bow grip.